Fort McMurray is still closed to residents. As many as 95,000 people were displaced by the wildfire. This weekend, emergency funds are being issued to many of them on preloaded debit cards. There's still no decision on when evacuees can return home. And that uncertainty about when evacuees can return home, combined with the stress of the evacuation, has made it a challenging week and a half for many Fort Mac residents. Our next guest is an evacuee who spoke to me last week just after he passed through Fort McMurray by convoy. Here's a bit of what he told us last week.
I slept with this on my face this morning. We woke up to fire alarms. I'm banging on Kizzy's door saying, we got to go, we got to go. And that's when we just said, all right, it's time to roll. Let's get down and join the convoy as quickly as we can.
And that was Duane Aubin last weekend. And we reached him again to find out how he's been doing, how his week has been doing. He now joins us live in Edmonton. Hi there, Duane. So when we spoke to you last Saturday, at the time you said you were not living one day at a time, but 1 minute at a time. So can you tell us briefly how the last week has been for you?
It's been okay. So we've calmed down a bit. The initial panic of getting out of the danger zone is over, but that's become scary as well because of a lot of behaviors that I found myself experiencing, and then I found out that others were also experiencing. Turns out we were suffering, varying degrees, mild forms of post-traumatic stress disorder. So one of the symptoms for me was everything is slowed down, but I still feel like I got to be moving. I feel like if things aren't urgent, if I'm not moving quickly, I'm in danger. It's hard to just sit still now. There's this absence of urgency, and that's disconcerting.
That's really interesting. And what's also interesting about this is, from what I understand, my producer is telling me that you joined a Facebook group for Fort McMurray residents. It was supposed to be a buy and sell group, but it turned into something else, right? Tell us more about that.
Yeah. I noticed that people were posting messages to this. Typically, it's just, you're buying and selling stuff, but it's become a place to communicate with, Fort McMurrayites. And, a post went out, and then the conversation has grown, and people have joined saying, yeah, this is happening to me. Yeah, this is a thing I didn't know, or I thought I was the only one, and comments like these. And it's become, somewhat of a support group. The province has done a really good job. There is a number that they have for Alberta mental health. There's availability. A lot of companies and people's insurance have access to therapy and whatnot. But for many, they just didn't know that they were suffering something specific. And, getting together and talking about it has been pretty helpful.
And so the number of people on this group sharing their stories is quite large. What are the kind of things that they're sharing with you?
Any stuff that's floating in the air, blossoms or buds from trees, it looks like ashes. If you see smoke or a chimney or a smokestack anywhere, you immediately start thinking, it could be a spot fire. One person said sitting in traffic, they had to just pull over and catch their breath. It just brought on panic. For me, any sudden movement, sudden noises, not sleeping well, sleeping with one eye open because you're not sure you're gonna have to grab your stuff and go. One friend of mine had said, they're gonna try to get busy. It's time to stop crying. And this is not something that can just be dismissed by sheer force of will. It is a psychological, it's a thing. I mean, I'm not a psychologist, but it's quite real. It can be debilitating. So it's not something to just think you can handle. It's not a macho thing. It's not about being tough or anything like that.
So what are you doing? What are you doing to try and mitigate some of the effects of what you're going through?
Firstly, to be aware and understand it. The research, the literature says it will dissipate, it will subside over time, but it may take time, and different people may react differently. We're not soldiers, we're not people who spend our lives on the front line of traumatic situations, but even a circumstance like this is having a recorded effect. So it just, talking to people, sharing our stories, recognizing that we're not alone, there's nothing wrong with us. It's just a natural consequence or result of going through this type of an experience.
How do you keep busy?
Well, that's a funny question because we're trying to keep busy while we wait. Hurry up and wait. The government said, okay, register for Red Cross, and then come down to this center and pick up a debit card, and stand in line here and go there. There's relief materials being shipped to this location, or a free meal at that location. A lot of people have been in touch with work. They're waiting in the wings for how the oil companies are going to phase back in getting sites up to speed. We're waiting for the city and the province to be able to say it's safe to go back. It's hard to say go home for many of us who lost our homes. But that lack of knowledge itself is becoming stressful. We're a community of people who have a very high degree of independence, self-determinism, and this entire experience of being told, go here, don't go there, stop, go, now, later, it's taking away from our center, our sense of self. It wears on you after a while.
Well, Duane, you really, I think, are helping people by just eloquently expressing what it is that you're going through this week, what you went through next week. So we appreciate you keeping in touch with us. Thank you very much.
Likewise, thank you.
Duane Aubin is a resident of Fort McMurray. We reached him in Edmonton. For more tips on how to deal with stress, check out the Alberta Health Services website at albertahealthservices.ca.